It's why many of us unknowingly are literally caging ourselves in a box, because stepping outside of the cage is the scariest thing to our central nervous system, because it truly would rather be in, like you mentioned, a familiar hell instead of an unfamiliar heaven, which is so sad.
Yeah, well, as you said, it's so important. Like, we can do all the mindset work, we can do all the, trust your strategy and authority. But if the subconscious, if the nervous system does not feel safe, you won't move forward. You won't trust your strategy and authority.
Oh my gosh, I'm so excited today, you guys. Welcome back to another episode of the Energetically Efficient Show. I have with me a very special guest who I recently connected with when I reached out to her and asked if she would be willing to come on the show. So I want to introduce you to my guest today, who is the talented Hillary McVeigh, who runs a podcast called Designed for You and has lots of other work in the world that we're going to talk about today. So welcome, Hilary.
Thank you so much. So happy to be here.
I'm so happy for you to be here as well. I know that we figured out this time simply based on it's morning for you, it's evening for me. So can you tell me, where are you in the world right now?
Yes, I'm at the Sunshine Coast in Australia. So as the name suggests, it's very fitting. So I moved here a couple of years ago when I was building my business, but I'm from Brisbane in Australia.
In Brisbane. Okay.
Yeah.
So where are you relative to Brisbane? Because I've only really spent time in Sydney, and then I was in the Blue Mountains as well, which was amazing.
Amazing. Yeah. So I'm about an hour and a half north of Brisbane. So Queensland. Everyone's moving up to Queensland ever since, once we're all starting to work online, everyone in Australia has been moving up here because there's so much sunshine and the beach, and it's a good lifestyle. Yeah.
Very good. Very good. Well, so fun. So I have to tell you, I shared this with you and I reached out to you, but I stumbled upon your podcast. I'm always looking for things in human design and was really excited. I'm like, wait. Her business is human design. And like me, she used to be a lawyer. And so I want to talk all about that and your transition, because I think it's rare, although hopefully becoming a little more common now for people to be boldly leaving what was considered in the old regime to be the pinnacle of like life and career and what you do for a living. So could you talk to us just a little bit about your transition from law to what you're doing now?
Yeah, big change, big transition. But yeah, so I was working in a family law firm and had been working there for a few years and was really working my way up. I was really going for it. I was really trying my hardest, and I felt anything but successful. As the projector, our true signature self is success. And what that means as a projector is that soulful success that feels true for you, where you feel seen as yourself, where you feel fulfilled. I love how Tony Robbins says that if you reach success and don't reach fulfillment, then that's the biggest failure of all. And that's how I felt. And I would look around and see people that seemed to be doing what I was doing and seemed to, just this was how it is. And it got to the point where my health started to decline. Now I see that it was such a gift that my health did, and that I received or was under the boss that I was under, because it really pushed me out. I might have been there a lot longer if the universe hadn't have continued to nudge me and make it harder and make it harder and make it more challenging. And it got to the point where my health had declined so much, and my mental health, that I started to look for answers, and I got onto podcasts. And it first started with health and wellness podcasts. It first started with trying to understand how to work with my stress, trying to get my menstruation cycle back, all of the things. And I somehow stumbled across spirituality. And I remember a podcast I was listening to, a human design teacher came on and spoke about it. And it was like my whole body vibrated with something is here for me. There is a reason why I'm feeling this way. I'm not a failure. There's nothing wrong with me. There's not even anything wrong with this occupation. It's just not right for me. And when I learned all about a projector, it was just like, oh, it all makes sense now, like why I'm feeling this way. And so it gave me this permission and this opening and deeper understanding of who I truly am, my true essence. So then I could stop trying to force things and start to align with my natural life force, my flow. And it gave me the courage. And, I did a lot of work along the way with inner child, shadow, my mindset, perspectives. I love ancient wisdoms. I deep into psychology. And then one day I did the 20 seconds of courage and quit the law job and ended up moving overseas. I felt like I needed the space and the freedom to explore what I was discovering. Broke up with my partner at the time. And from there, I just continued my journey of self-discovery and ended up going into my dark night of the soul, which again, I'm so grateful for now. Yeah. And yeah, started building my business. And that was, that's 50 years ago now.
Can you take me back to just kind of timing? Because one of the things I find so interesting about the awakening that we're having on the planet right now is, and I always laugh, my sister and I are both on our own awakening journeys, and we laugh about how some people were awake after 9/11. Like that woke many people up, right? I was very asleep. I was in law school, like, oh, they just found the passports on the ground of the people, you know what I mean? Like I just bought everything, hook, line, and sinker. And then I understand that a lot of people had another wake up when the 2008 financial crisis at least happened here in the US. It sounds like the end of the Mayan calendar. So I ended up getting divorced that year, which is interesting. So, and then I called in this insane leg break and all the stuff that the universe was trying to get my attention. But from a timing perspective, when did your awakening start, do you think?
Well, mine was definitely a personal timing of just before my sudden return. But at the same time, it was pre-COVID. So I think there was another one during that of like everyone. So it was right before that. So it was 2018 when I was starting to, but you know, you're tasting it. I even remember in my early 20s starting to explore different things, but it really started to come to a head when life was edging me and nudging me forward just before COVID. Yeah.
That's so interesting because that was exactly my timing as well.
Yeah.
It was 2018 and I left the practice in 2019. And I was spending a lot of time at the time in meditation, which was one of the ways that I feel like I get my intuitive downloads and I was getting guided and all of that. But I've heard you talk about, and I want to hear about this. You have a power practice that I've heard you talk about on other episodes. Yeah. And then I'd love to hear more about just, I work with a lot of clients who are busy executives, who are lawyers, who are accountants, who are doctors, who I know for many of them, not all of them, but for many of them, it's like they think there's something perhaps more or some sort of life transition coming. And I just love being able to ground things in like practical things they can do to get more centered and to get more aligned. And I know you host retreats and lots of things that I want to talk about, but what are some of the practices that have helped you along your journey to really be able to receive the information that you get before you go like record a podcast, for example, or things like that?
Yeah. Space and what you just shared about the power practice, all that is doing is creating a pause and space between the trigger of automated thinking and feeling and being and action, where what people don't realize, exactly how you said, is like we're asleep. And ancient wisdoms have been speaking about this sleep consciousness of just moving through the world and just operating from your conditioning or operating without any conscious creation. It's just, this is how we've always done this, robotic. They've learned it from their parents, and it's just muscle memory, repeat. And there's a moment where you start to witness yourself. Now, we all have our different way in which we start to connect to that. I think first is the awareness, but the awareness creates choices. It doesn't create change. And so, people are like, oh yeah, I'm aware that I have this pattern, or I'm aware that I do these things, or I'm aware that this isn't working out for me. But then the next step is the actual shift or change in the behavior of who you are. And that can only happen when you realize it. That can only happen when you become awake to it. It can only happen when you create the pause and the reflection or the space to be able to see that. And so I love to immerse myself in, wisdoms where that taps into that, you've tapped into that frequency. So whether it's on a podcast or whether it's a teacher you have, or whether it's meditation, what you're doing is that you're tapping into intelligence. Similar to how we think, just like a really obvious example is how computer technology connects to Wi-Fi. There is an intelligence within us that this is why when you meditate, you connect to that. And we need these practices. For me, it is nature. For me, it is a walk. For me, it is meditation. And when you cultivate these spaces, it's even like driving your car, like if you can even just have some form of a moment where you're sitting with yourself and not just putting on the music, or not just calling a friend then, or not just, really being aware even in the moments where you're just spiral thinking. And when you create a system shift and create awareness of, okay, I'm noticing there's these patterns in my life, and life will start to show you and give you these invitations to change it. So if you notice, if you're like, okay, I'm just dipping my toe into all of this, spirituality, self-development, transformational work, I think what can be a really great place to start is to just look at the patterns that are happening in your life. Think of really reflect on the reoccurring thoughts that are always coming up, because life is inviting you to heal something there. And when you can pause, especially when you're triggered or you're challenged, because that's how life will get you out of your comfort zone, get you out of that robotic sleep state. It does it through challenge. There's actually a recent example, a woman, beautiful client, she was logging into her Zoom call for us to meet, and just her internet wasn't working. And I had done so many Zoom calls that day and the internet was fine. Hers, she thought it was fine before, and it just wasn't working in any corner of her house. And then once she got it to work, or once the universe allowed it to work, the first thing she came into me and she said, Hilary, nothing is working in my life. I'm so frustrated. Told all about these things that she was moving through, these terrible things that were happening in her life. And it was just beautiful reflection or mirror of how there was just so much frustration happening even to connect to internet. And so there's a reflection there of what is life edging you towards? What is life asking you to release here? And she was wanting to start a business. And what was coming up for her was a lot of family stuff about where she felt like she had to save everyone in her family, how she was holding everything for her family. And, we were able to discover that there is this pattern here with her family that life is asking her to heal and to change the lack of boundaries or the people pleasing or the feeling like you have to save everyone and I'm responsible for everyone. Because imagine if she took that into her business. Imagine if then she took that into her clients. So this was asking, and so life is making all these frustrating things happen so that she would wake up to it. And from there, it totally shifted after our session, but it's okay, now when you start working with life and your life force, things no longer have to feel so hard because life doesn't need to make it so challenging for you.
Yes.
And, the challenge is always going to be relative to where you're going. But I just think when you can have to answer your question, is space so that you can actually start to witness what is happening in your life? Why is the movie playing out the way it's playing? What is this inviting from you? Because when you actually see that, you can shift it and then your life will respond accordingly.
Yeah, you're so right. It's so interesting when you think about, and there's so many sayings around it, right? Like the breakdown before the breakthrough, or all of the different pathways. I always say, for whatever reason, I like to choose things the hard way. Have you heard this? Have you heard the saying, first
addicted to struggle?
Yeah, addicted to struggle. Have you heard the saying, first you get hit with a feather, then you get hit with a brick, then you get hit with a truck? Right?
Yeah.
So I had that experience. I have no idea what the feather was because I was dead asleep to it, not paying attention. But I had fallen on my leg attempting to surf. And I say attempting because I was literally out there on my own with a paddle board that had this fin in Maui or Kauai. I was in Kauai. And I fell so hard, Hilary, and got a hematoma on my whole leg. I couldn't walk for a couple of days. But of course, when I got home, I was going to run that marathon because I signed up for it. So the universe was like, lady, you're not listening. Yeah. So then fast forward 3 months, I fall and break that exact same leg in 10 places. And it's like the universe was so trying to get my attention the whole time because it's constantly trying to course correct you. So when you were talking about your journey, what I kept hearing was, you just need to get into more alignment. You just need to get into more alignment. You just need to get into more alignment. And so I feel like that can be such a fun edge for people to play with. Like, what would alignment look like for me today? What would it look like if especially because we are truly co-creating our reality at all time. So you mentioned your beautiful client, like nothing's working for me. Everything's frustrating. Well, that's what we're going to create more of course, because that's what we believe and that's what we say. So I think there's such an opportunity just for asking and being in that inquiry of, how can I get in more alignment today or in this moment or in this hour?
Absolutely. And it starts with just being honest with yourself. I think sometimes when people feel into what's in alignment and what's not, and people think that if something is fearful or scary or creates a big response in their body, that is out of alignment. And most likely the thing that you're afraid of and you have mental resistance is the most aligned thing for you. So you can have, I always say I have like a 3-prong approach to this of, do you feel like an intuitive curiosity? Does it feel like there's something here for you? They can just feel like, within human design, we might talk about your gut, your spleen, or your emotions, but really it's like an expansion of your body, or it keeps coming around, or you're curious about it. There feels a call there. Then the second is going to be, there will be mental resistance if it is outside of your autopilot comfort zone, what we've always known. And I love the saying of, people will prefer or choose familiar hell over an unfamiliar heaven.
Yes.
And this is the thing. It's like, you can be, even if it doesn't feel good, your mind is safe there. Your ego knows it. Your nervous system has become acclimatized to this. Even if, for example, you grew up with struggle, then even though it was struggle, it was known struggle. So you're safe in that struggle. And so you're going to have some mental resistance if it actually goes towards freeing you from conditioning, because it's simply unknown.
Yes.
And this is where, with the nervous system, it's really just about making it familiar. You're making where you're going familiar. And this is why I always just think you take the step by step, because in that you're showing your body, this gets to be safe. This gets to be safe. So there will be, number 2, mental resistance. Like, I see it as a good sign when I feel afraid of it. And the third one is, you feel like a universal support. Like, I just feel like, we love a sign. We love a feeling of like, oh, this just keeps pushing me towards it. Now it just seems to work. Like, when you see the universe is supporting you and is pulling you forward. And as we said, like, maybe it means you have an injury, or you have a health challenge, or something happens, maybe you get a resignation. Really see, and even if you can't see it yet, the Kabbalah speaks about like finding certainty that this is happening for your good, because there is no other way.
Yes.
And we can look back on times in our life where there have been, as you said, like with Maori and having a massive injury. It's like, you can look back and be like, I'm actually so grateful that happened, because it created change in my life. It might not have created change straight away, but it became like a culminated effect where it became a reason that you couldn't stay the way you were.
Yes.
I had the same things, and we've all experienced these things where we're not listening.
Yep, we're not listening, and then it has to get our attention. I'm so glad you brought up the central nervous system, though, because you talk a lot about that, as I do in my practice as well. And I just love it. All of these things we're talking about, whether it's the spiritual journey, the awakening, the central nervous system, in our regular old school, I call it the 90s way of living, like the regular school where you learn about history and then you learn about, we don't learn anything of value really in terms of all of the stuff that actually matters in life. So the central nervous system is just such an important part of this, because like you mentioned, we're wired truly for safety. It's why many of us unknowingly are literally caging ourselves in a box, because stepping outside of the cage is the scariest thing to our central nervous system, because it truly would rather be in, like you mentioned, a familiar hell instead of an unfamiliar, heaven, which is so sad. So I know that you've expanded your human design practice into like central nervous system work. Can you tell us about that and what you're doing with clients and how you weave that in maybe to your retreats as well?
Yeah, well, as you said, it's so important. Like, we can do all the mindset work. We can do all the, trust your strategy and authority is how we say it in human design. But what I saw as, when I was practicing purely human design, I saw that there became a limit of like, but if the subconscious, if the nervous system does not feel safe, you won't move forward. You won't trust your strategy and authority. So I needed to include it. It's almost unethical to not. And how I see it is like, your nervous system is like your ultimate love affair, because your nervous system's only thought, care, purpose is to keep you safe. It is constantly looking around and seeing like, does this remind me of a past event? Okay, do we brace? It's like a protection shield. And I also love to include parts work with this, because then you can have the inner child parts or the protector parts, the more psychological parts that can come in and try and protect you. So all of it is really like, we're working with the nervous system because it's such an important part. It's kept us alive. Yes. And so and it's never done you wrong either. Like the nervous system has always had your best intent. Yeah. And so what can happen when we're moving outside of what we've always known, or we're taking the risk or doing something, moving into the uncertainty, into the unknown, And in order to create a life that's truly yours, you need to move into the unknown, because otherwise you're just going to be repeating what you've seen. You're just going to repeat what you saw with your parents. You're going to repeat what society told you, repeat what school told you, and what you just got subliminally, you received. So there has to be an element of the unknown if you're creating a true life for yourself, an intuitive life for yourself, and a purposeful life for yourself. And we just have to also think who you become when you step into the unknown. And, this whole idea that by stepping into the unknown, you're actually being able to connect to your potential. So we know that mentally, like, okay, I need to step into the unknown, but the nervous system will refuse that, will not like that. Yes. So how I see it is that I love the stretch, the stretch and the regulate, because I really looked back on my life before I realized I was working with the nervous system of like, how did I actually move forward? Because I think just success in business or in life is just the people that just keep showing up. It's the people that don't stop when no one buys their product, or no one likes their post, or no one turns up to their first event, or you feel like there's crickets at the start. Yeah. And, people can maybe send 2 emails and then be like, okay, no one wants it, it's done, I'm gone. And it's just because their nervous system couldn't hold it. Yeah. So I love we do something that feels in your capacity of what you can do, something that feels like a slight stretch, but you can hold it, because the universe won't send you anything you can't hold. And in doing that, you regulate through it. You have your practices. Like, once I actually started regularly meditating in my nature and also just understanding this system, I was able to stretch a lot more and a lot faster, and actually get excited about that, because I had created a trust muscle within my nervous system to show it what is safe. So we're befriending it, and we're showing like, this gets to feel safe. Okay, this new norm, this feels safe. Okay, now we can stretch a bit more. Okay, this, and you can sometimes even think of it as like a ladder. It's like, okay, so I want to have 5 people into my program. I'm going to share about it. Okay, now I'm ready for 25. Now I'm ready for 50. Now I'm ready to hold a retreat. Now I'm ready to do a live tour. Now I'm ready to create a product. Now, you take it step by step. And what people do is they try to go from 0 to 100. And that feels so overwhelming to the nervous system that you will procrastinate. You won't do it. It's not that you have bad attention skills, or that you have ADHD, or that you can't, you're lazy. It's none of that things. Your nervous system is just protecting you. It creates a wall if it's too far reaching, and your mind will create overwhelm with it. So I take step by step, have your practices. And also I just think support system is the most important thing when it comes to being in business and creating new steps in life. Like, I think my number one business partner is the universe, is the divine energy, because when you feel that supported, but at the same time, you need people around you. You need other people that are doing something different. You need the people that you can really know that will love you indefinitely or unconditionally. Don't discount what support does to the nervous system. So you need to create that support for yourself, not just wait for support to come. Go and find the places where you feel supported and where you feel vision held, because you're making it so much harder for yourself if you're just doing it alone in your room, on your laptop, no one there, and just feeling shame and spiraling.
I totally agree with you. And it's so interesting, because I think that women specifically, especially successful women, are conditioned to have to go it alone and tough it out and do it yourself. But support is so key. I agree with you. Yeah. And this conversation about central nervous system, I always say that there are literally 2 things in the world that dictate your entire reality. And they are, how high is your vibration? What is your frequency? Yeah. And the state of your central nervous system. That's it.
Absolutely.
That's it. Yeah. It's those 2 things. So if you aren't paying attention to those 2 things in 2026 and going forward, good luck.
So absolutely. Important. I love that. I think how I see it is your frequency, your life force is being held by your nervous system. So it's you have this energy moving through you. People are connecting with your frequency, your elevated state, and then your consciousness as well. And then, you have your nervous system holding it.
Yeah. Yeah. I love that you use the term life force, because you corresponded with me about that initially when I sent you the email. So tell people what you mean by that and what life force means to you. Because I love the term. I love it.
Yeah. Well, it just became the word I started to use. It was, could be subbed out for divine energy or universal energy or God or just the energy that we are made from. So what I started to realize, I was like, what is this, or the frequency, as you said, what is actually what connects and magnetizes people? And it's not the actual physical, like, it's not your body. It's not your... And like when I say body, I don't just mean like the physicality of it. I just mean like even Hilary or Kristin as a human. It's not that. It's the energy behind that. Like we create these roles and we create these identities. We create these people that we are in the world. And actually at the core, like you are life force expressed as Hilary, or your soul having an experience as Kristin in this lifetime. And when I could see that, you know, what you actually are is energy, is divinity, is a soul, is God, you can never feel not enough from that place. You can never doubt your ideas from that place. You can never judge yourself from that place because, you know, you are a masterpiece. You're a piece of the master. You are the energy that moves through all of nature. You're the energy that has created every idea that's ever been through. You're the energy that creates all of civilization, all of this world, all of this earth. So to me, it makes sense. Like I remember if I probably would have heard that when I was still in law, it would have been, what gibberish and woo-woo stuff is this hippie girl talking about? Through my own experiences, it's like, it's crazy to not think that. It's crazy to think that you were just like these meat and flesh and bones walking through this like random experience. So yeah, it gives me more meaning, but it also, like, to me, it feels like more truth. So life was just a word that I use. I feel like it's more, you know, people that maybe it's too far reaching to see and it's like divine or universe energy or God energy. To me, it feels a little bit more accessible to understand. It was just a word that came through for me.
Yeah, I love it. I absolutely love it. And it's so interesting that you mentioned the physical body, because so much of what I do with my nutritional work is to get people healthy in their physical body. But I always say the clients who find me, I'm like, they really came for the woo. They don't know they came for the woo oftentimes. Some of them know it. But once we get to like get into
frequency.
We get to get into the real stuff. I'm like, okay. And don't get me wrong, I would never suggest that anyone sit around and eat Doritos all day, because it's not high vibrational food. We have to nourish ourselves because food has frequency and all of those things. But this physical body, this meat suit, like you say, I always call it that as well. Yeah. It's really just, I always say it's our vessel holding our divinity in form. Beautiful. It's just a vessel. Yeah. And when that came through for me, I was like, that is literally what it is. And so treating this vessel as good as we can, because it really is the capsule that holds our divinity, is then you can, if you look at it through that lens, it's like, well, of course I would eat this nourishing thing and I would take time to prepare a meal and I wouldn't go through a fast food restaurant, and I would hydrate my body and I would drink all my water and I would do the things that actually nourish me, because it's providing more light to come through.
Exactly. And like, it's so important. Like, it's your body is such an important expression of your vessel. If your vessel of your soul, if your vessel isn't healthy or isn't vital or strong, then how are you going to be able to move through in your purposeful energy? So I think of it exactly the same way. I've come from, you know, really obsessive eating. I've come from like compulsive, you know, anorexia.
Yep.
Anorexia. Yeah, you know, all the things. And I used to just like beat my body. It was just so much. It was so much to the body. And I think I went down all the like trying to get to self-love, trying to get to self-confidence, but it always was coming from this, self-hatred. It was like I was trying to love myself by hating myself. Yes. And you can't get to that place when it's like from a true love and respect place. Like, that's where I felt like when I started to see my vessel of life force, it created so much respect for my body. Of course I would want to eat healthily. Of course I would want to nourish it. Of course I would want to move it in a way that feels good. Of course I would want to, you know, look after my nervous system and not just keep running and running and running. And so it becomes like a holistic approach with your body, rather than seeing it even as like a thing for the male gaze as well. Like, I started to see like how strong and how beautiful we are as women, and especially as women, that it's not some like object that we have to perfect. It's an incredible vessel that gets us to be vital and feel good and feel nourished and feel even more connected to the divine. Like, I do eat really like I eat very healthily, and when because I love it and because it makes me feel good, and because I feel clearer. Yeah. So
it makes such a difference. I love that you brought up the self-love thing. I had my business coach reflect one time to me recently. She's like, you're really helping people on a journey of self-love, like getting them to love themselves again so that they can nourish their bodies properly.
Yeah. It's really like true self-love.
Yeah, it really is.
It's true self-love.
Yeah. It is. So you and I are both projectors. So I want to talk about that for a little bit because that was one of the things that drew me to you. So can you remind me, what are your lines?
5'1".
You're a 5'1" projector. Okay.
What are you?
Okay. And I'm a 6'2", which is interesting.
Cool.
And I'm excited because this year, Hilary, I turned 50 in August. I'm going to be turning 50.
Wow.
So I'm like, this is the year. It's just like, the year I've been waiting for, like the year. I'm just so excited to come into this era. I cannot even tell you. It's like,
and extra because we're moving into 2027 as well. And the creative women design would speak so much about how the 6'2s are really the ones moving us forward.
Yes.
So you being in your 6 era, like extra 6 era, and your 3rd phase, and to be, that's so exciting.
Yeah. Can you talk a little bit about projectors for those of people? I feel like a lot of times when I host programs, it's interesting because as a projector, I did a poll one time and it was a course I had run, and literally almost everyone in there was a generator or a manifester, it was very interesting because as guides, we guide other people who are doing the work. So I just think that's interesting. But talk a little bit about projectors and this special time of 2027 that's coming next year. Because I keep reading about it, but I have to imagine you know a lot more about it than I do.
Yes. So as you said, projectors are the guides, and all of the energy types can be a guide if their strategy and authority desires it. But there really is a strong gift of the projector to see, to perceive, to change perspectives, to help people see different ways of being, how to create more efficiencies. It's just like a spidey sense of the projector, because that's what they're really here to do. They're here to move us forward in a direction where we can experience more freedom, more success, more peace, more happiness, more of all the things that we desire. Sure. So the projector does have a keen interest in human how we work, human behavior, and they're here to share what they perceive, to not busy themselves or get stuck in achieving. The projector can be a really big, just high achiever and want to impress and want to prove themselves. And that's why a lot of projectors will often have had an experience maybe in the corporate background or law or some form of climbing up the ladder. And there often comes to a point where a projector will get really, really burnt out. Like that's how it is. And, as well, like the projector will be doing the marathons on the side. They become these massive energy bunnies because it's just like more because of their undefined sacral, just absorbing the pressure and the need to be productive, the need to be always on that we have in our society, this obsession with productivity. And so what can happen is a projector gets really steered down the wrong path where they're trying to prove themselves in places that aren't actually for them. And they don't feel fulfilled. They don't feel on purpose. Until they have their period where they do wake up to it, and whether it happens at 20 or 50 or 80, where they start to realize that they actually have nothing to prove and they can create a life on their terms. And they are the people that are, even in their everyday life, people's life advice, they're everyone's coach. They are someone that people come to. And so it's really great if you can be in a role, or whether it's in your family or in a business or in a team, where you can give your insights and you feel really seen for that. Now, with the projector, they're often spoken about like waiting for the invite or waiting for the recognition. Now, I definitely I have a little bit of a different spin on it, because through my own practice, and also I don't think it's healthy to obsess or think about recognition. I think it's actually like a really challenging thing for a projector, because we're coming from a place where you're like acting for external gratification and validation and like, what do people think? And instead it's just seeing where is space where is ready to receive what I have to say or what I care about or what I love. And it's got nothing to do with like you being recognized as a human, because again, it's so egoic. It's about, I actually feel really seen for the work that the divine is working through me. Like I feel really in flow in this place. I feel really like there's space for me to share, but we got to take me out of it. It's the divine to share through you. It's using the intelligence to move through you. And even this morning, like I got a voice note from a beautiful client just sharing her gratitude and all the beautiful things. And I just like, I feel like especially as a projector, it's so important for us to like, it's not us. Like it's the universe moving through you. It's God moving through. Yeah. And that I just think is so important as a projector to remember, because the projector can get so caught up on like, am I recognized? Are people seeing me? And it is just a losing battle. It is something, especially with Instagram, that you're constantly going to go up against if you don't have a successful post that you did or something you put out there, you didn't get the instant validation for it. It creates, again, like so much suffering. Yeah. So it's just sharing because you love it, and just knowing that the people that will receive it, that are ready to receive it, that's who you're focusing on.
Yeah. Yeah. So I'm glad you brought that up in terms of social media. How do you approach social media in terms of what you share? Do you wait for divine inspiration and then put something together? Do you have a team who helps you? How do you approach it? So you get your work out in the world more? Because it is a vessel for us to get our work out more, but it also, I mean, I was like, it could go away tomorrow. And then what? You know?
I know. I thought about that yesterday.
Yeah, it's so interesting. I just said this to someone yesterday as well. Because we have to have our businesses built on more than just social media. So I'm just curious how you approach it.
Exactly. So I have definitely different funnels within my business. So my podcast is by far the thing that's most natural, easy, flowy, love it, just share. That's definitely divinely inspired. And I love, it's the Kabbalah concept where we need to be in the energy of giving, which is a consciousness, not an action. And so what totally shifted my relationship with social media and just sharing in general was realizing how good it feels to be in the energy of sharing. So I love teaching on the podcast. I love teaching inside my spaces. I love like planning or like thinking about what's going to be on next week's podcast. Or I really do love sitting down and creating a carousel for Instagram. So I love to put my thoughts together. Maybe I'll only do that once a week, when it's like, or maybe once every 2 weeks, where I'm like really sitting down and it's like something that I'm really like, I'm almost learning as I'm creating it. Like, when they say, like, if you really want to learn something, teach it. So it might be a concept that I'm playing with. It might be something that I'm reflecting in my own life. And I love to sit down and create that. So being in the energy of that is the whole point. Like, giving is a consciousness. Giving is not just the action, because in that you connect with light, you connect with divine intelligence, you connect with wisdom. And so, when it comes to, for example, the podcast, maybe for the week before, I'll kind of get an idea of maybe what the next week will be about. And I might be on a walk and like I'll start jotting things down on my notes section. And then when the divine inspiration hits, I'll purposely make it in the morning. So if I know I needed to or want to create a podcast, I will do it first thing in the morning, because if I'm waiting till the afternoon, I'm already like, I've already might have taken a nap. I'm like winding down for the day. I don't like to record podcasts or things at the end of the day. So I always do creative acts at the start. And then from there, if I've recorded a podcast, then it might be easy things that I'll just clip or create for Instagram. It's like I start with the podcast and then I'll create assets for the Instagram and or like the newsletter or other things.
Sure.
Now, as well, I'll put the podcast on YouTube. So it's like working smarter. Also as well, I refuse to spend heaps of time on just like Instagram daily things. So if it's got into like 15, 20 minutes, I'm not talking about when I want to take time for a carousel. Like we're talking about like, okay, we're getting something out today. We're being consistent. I will not take longer than 15, 20 minutes. Like just get it out. Just get it out.
Yes. Like so, the whole done is better than perfect type of mentality.
Yeah. And like you're a divine channel. Like I have never not anything to say. Like I feel like I love it's on the front page of Rick Rubin's book, The Creative Act. It's like, be in the environments or put yourself in environments where creativity is inevitable.
Oh,
And
I love
so
that.
like my morning walks, my meditations, my when I go down to the beach, when I will listen to maybe a Kabbalah lecture, or I'll listen to a Vedic lecture, or I'll listen to this where it like invokes that wisdom within me. And then it's like inevitable that I'm going to have something to say. So again, if we get really practical, I batch things. So for example, if I am putting out reels, I'll record 20 reels one day when I'm feeling good. And then
Yeah.
that's a month worth of reels.
Yeah.
And
Awesome.
I have templates for carousels. So I just plug that in. I can create a carousel in a few minutes. So for now, I've chosen to be the one that does the social media. My social media is very personal, and I do like that. I outsource other things. So like I don't edit the podcast. I don't upload the podcast. I'll record it,
Sure.
send it off. I have all my operations side doing the operations. I do have video editors, and they will edit like videos. But when it comes to the actual writing, I like to write it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
And
I love
I
that.
see it as well, like what really changed with me. The act of writing, the act of like putting your thoughts in, that's the whole point. I actually started to really notice, like, people talk so much about productivity and AI and all the things. And like, absolutely, I use ChatGPT and all the AI stuff for efficiency things. At the same time, when it actually comes about your creative writing, when we plug it in that, I started to realize that it was taking away from my happiness of creativity. Like, really notice if you're out of efficiency, meaning that you don't tap into universal wisdom because you are writing or creating something. And I really notice it a lot, especially with podcasts, like people just reading from AI scripts. And we can tell, firstly, but at the same time, what's the point? Like, there's nothing better than getting the mic and being like, I'm channeling something. It's coming through. This is a topic. You might move around a bit. It might not be perfectly structured, but people connect with your life force in that way.
Yeah.
So, yeah, use AI for things that don't matter, like the things that you don't need to do it. It's not a creative act. And, it's just like, I don't know, like admin things. When it comes to creative work, I think it's so important to let it come through you because of the consciousness you get in.
I totally agree with you. I think it's so important, especially because it really is, this is where you are channeling the divine, and that's what's going to come through you. I heard someone once say that instead of artificial intelligence, they call AI the absence of intelligence. And I was like, okay, I want to steal that, because I'll use it to say, summarize these two things for me, or help me create a grocery list because I have this recipe, and it'll do it efficiently for me because that's an exercise in efficiency. But from a creative process, I completely agree with you. You can feel it. Because it's a resonance, because everything has a resonance. You could feel if it's robotically written, and then there's no, like you mentioned, life force. There's no life force behind it. And then no one's going to connect with it. No one wants to just sit there and have conversations with robots all day,
No. Exactly. It's like, it goes to similar to what you were saying with frequency, and we're energetic beings, especially moving more and more, with 2027. And it's like, we are all reading each other's energies. We are all making decisions based with that. I remember when I was, and you would have remembered this as well, when in law, I specifically remember how they talked about, and this was in law school, I didn't end up using it in the law firm, but about how unreliable human eyewitness testimony is because of how terrible our memory is, how we just create stories and fill in blanks and all the things. And, we go through life thinking that people are making decisions logically or because it makes sense. And actually humans are making all their decisions emotionally and instinctually. And we can think you're making all of these things, but the actual decisions are always in that way. So people are making their decisions or connecting with people because of that resonance, exactly as you said. And it can't be faked. Like, even yesterday I was talking about this with my sister. I went to a Pilates class, and she was a lovely Pilates teacher. She was really nice, but I couldn't, it was just so much inauthentic energy that it actually made me hard to be in the class, because the whole way that she was walking, just everything. And it felt like, I felt like my whole energy was constricted because I was reflecting her energy. And again, that's me probably projecting, but at the same time, it's it doesn't feel good to be in the energy of inauthenticity or roboticness or trying to be something you're not, we're quite literally repelled to it as humans.
Yes, we are. And I think as our intuitive gifts and our energetic gifts come online more and more as it is happening in this massive awakening on the planet, we are sensing it and feeling it more than anything. Like, I don't think anyone 5 years ago was talking about things like when you see something on social media where you can feel a resonance of like I've just heard this term, like a pick me energy, where you can feel that sometimes. And I have to sometimes ask myself when I want to hop on my stories, when I want to share, like, what is my intention? What is driving this? Am I feeling scarcity? Do I feel like I haven't connected with my audience and I'm doing it from that place, as opposed to, I just had this really exciting breakthrough with a client and I want to share about it. And it comes from that place. You can totally feel that difference of that resonance and what's being communicated. And I think as we continue to go forward, I just keep hearing this word and I'm like, this is literally the word maybe for this year, next year, whatever, but just discernment. How much more discernment we're all having in terms of the energetic, because you can think someone could feel like a very shiny, bright light in the beginning. And then all of a sudden you realize there's some major distortion there that's alluring and that's captivating people, but that truly doesn't have like a grounded foundational authenticity to it. And so I just think we're going to start to sense that more and more as well.
Absolutely. I love everything you just said. And I think I do the same thing. I always have to check my energy around, especially us as projectors, especially when we're sharing, because it's like, do I have an attachment here? Because then that's felt. It's almost like people receive it with that weight. People receive it with that, like desperation energy. And it's not your truth anyway. It's just a moment of lack. And this is where we can use the pause practice of like noticing that in your body. Pause. Okay, this is an opportunity for me to shift this. What is actually coming up for me? Okay, I feel, you can witness and you feel, there's some fear here, or there's some lack here, or there's some worry that people are not going to sign up, or I'm going to be in this dire financial place. And it's like, okay, now come back to my body, come back to my knowing, and then respond as your higher self. So it might mean that you go and like take a little walk or take a little breather or just wait and then come back in a different energy. And it's totally received differently. I honestly think, even when it comes to, just because we were speaking about Instagram, like the less I check, the better. When there was a period there where for about like maybe 2 weeks, I was checking all the things. I was checking all my metrics, checking all my things. And I noticed again, such a shift in my energy, such a shift in my frequency, and such a shift and like just in everything. And when I stopped and like, it's none of my business, literally, it's none of my business. I put things out that I love. I put things out that I care about, put things out that are moving through me. And then I saw such a change in that. And then I felt better as well, because it doesn't matter. Like, it's not, people just think that if you control all of that, and this is what Instagram people will tell you to do, but I actually think it like distorts your energy again. And it creates, a constriction in your actual life force sharing, because you're obsessing about things that actually can't be controlled. How the algorithm's actually going to pick it up has got nothing to do whether you do the right or wrong things. It's going to be based on just like what comes through that day. And if it happens, it happens. If it doesn't, it doesn't. Like, and it's like really creating from integrity, and exactly as you said, from discernment. It's like that's your goal, and your only job is to create from that pure place.
Yes. Well, I'm so glad you brought this up, because I heard you, and it might have been just one of the recent podcasts you released, but would you mind sharing with my audience, because I love this, excuse me, that you didn't show face to camera, didn't do anything for like 11 days while you were in a launch. I loved this so much, because I'm like, it's literally the opposite of attachment. I'm not attached to the outcome. Whoever comes into my world will come into my world. Whoever is supposed to be in this offer will. And I trust, because I continue to exercise my trust muscle in the universe, that the most aligned group will come together for this experience. So could you just share a little about that? I loved it. I loved it.
Yeah. Not only did I not show face to camera, I didn't have a phone. I was in a silent meditation retreat. So I handed in my phone. I handed in my laptop. I was fully offline. I didn't speak to friends, family, anyone. And I've done that a few times, but especially it was the first time I did it in a launch. And I just trusted. I really thought that I really felt called to go. And I knew that the people that would come in, and that I had created the systems that would support that. And I knew that I didn't need to. It was more important that I was well rested, well connected. And I truly believe that people, again, are connected by frequency. Like, I had so many people sign up while I was offline and not posting on anything. I didn't, there was a period where I was like, oh, should I get my assistant to post while I'm away? Like I actually did. Like I was thinking about creating all of these, assets, but then she was going to post it. And then about 2 days before, I was like, no, I want to be fully offline. I don't want again, that would have been distorted frequency because I would have been posting out of a lack. It wasn't genuine, like, oh, I'm really excited to share these things. It was more like, okay, we'll just create these things so it's there when I'm gone.
Yes.
And when I came back out, everything was all taken care of. And it was just such a reminder to me to have full trust and to let go. Because, if I even think about the people that I engage with or I invest in, it's not because they post every single day or because they're always in my awareness. It's like I might be driving and be like, oh yeah, that person that I listened to that podcast with, I feel really called to connect with them. I'm going to reach out. And it's like, their signal connects with my signal, and that's what it ends up doing. And the amount of times people say to me that they didn't ever read the sales page, they often had listened to the podcast. That was the way that they connected with me. And then they just signed up. And it wasn't because I funneled them. It wasn't because they commented and liked every single Instagram. No, it was like there was that match, and they chose from a true place. I didn't have to convince them. I refuse to convince people. I do not ever try and convince people. I do not ever try and give a sales pitch to people. I do sell, like, obviously I share about my thing. I get excited about it, but I don't do sales calls. I just trust that the right people will come to this. Yes, absolutely. I share my thing. I never want it to be like not to sell. You got to be excited and share and make it seen.
Sure.
But it's, again, coming from that excitement place, never coming from a place where I need to micromanage that process. So I always just felt and always know, even I'm about to go into another launch period, where the most important thing is like how I'm feeling, my nervous system, because that's going to be reflective of how much I can hold. If you're exhausted after your launch period and then you expect to go serve people for 6 months and you're at empty because you've just annihilated yourself in the active marketing process, there's a place for that, but there's also a place for your own work, your own frequency, your own restorative energy. And you can let go. Like I just recorded a podcast recently, and I can even send it to you after if you want to link it below. People really loved it, about divine orchestration and letting go of control. There is no way that I could have planned how everything has happened with my business, how life has eventuated. I could never plan even what people move through in a retreat or within the certification. I can't ever plan that. Like I could never plan what then happens in their lives and like orchestrate it. There is a bigger energy working, and yes, you move forward, but you don't have to control everything or micromanage everything. Like I don't know half the people that come into my spaces until they do come into my spaces, and then I give them my all. Then I give them all my life force. But I'm not here to micromanage and control how the people get into my spaces. And then you can connect with actually more people because you're not obsessing or controlling and fixating on things that aren't for you to control.
Yeah. One of the things I keep hearing you saying is basically like we limit ourselves just thinking, oh, it has to come through a funnel, or the people have to have found me through this way, or it had to have been a referral, when it's really this master spider web that people can find you in all sorts of ways. They could drop out of the sky and come through a raindrop. I mean, it's so exciting when you think about how we're all connected in that way. And it really is frequency. It really is the vibration of the connection that we all have.
Exactly. And even if Instagram did go one day, people would still connect with you and find you. Like it's like, it'd be okay, then referrals would be more of a thing, or there'd be another way, or it's like universe is just letting you being able to connect with people through whatever funnels or whatever channels you have. It's just as long as people can feel your life force, whichever way you feel most connected to, beautiful. It's always going to be what you feel most called to show up as or show up on. And I think when we can trust more, then you're going to be able to go further, because firstly your nervous system will be able to receive more and be able to hold more, but you're no longer wasting your life force or your energy on things that your ego is just getting satisfied by doing. It's like your mind gets satisfied doing that, but it's not actually the true potentiality of your energy. There's so much more.
Yeah. Okay. So I want to talk just about a few more things if you have time,
Yes.
which is
Yes.
I want to hear about your certification. I also want to, you mentioned that we could link that podcast episode below, which I would
Yeah.
love to, but can we also link the one about like, let it not make logical sense? Because I loved that one, especially as two lawyers, like to think about us in the practice of law, talking about logic doesn't matter. It's literally like the biggest departure, and I loved it because it is exactly what we were talking about. So I'd love to link that below, but I want to hear about the certification. And then I also want, if you wouldn't mind talking a little bit about what this 2027 thing is. There's so much talk in human design, especially because I pay attention to it because of the 6-2 line, but what does this pinnacle year mean for us?
Yes, absolutely. So, well, I can link it all together with the let it not make logical sense as well. So, you know, what we need to think with the logical mind, it's only tapped into 1% of reality. So we think that, and it likes to think, it will tell us to think that if it doesn't see it, taste it, touch it from its 5 senses, that it doesn't exist. Right. And so what happens is that we really, really limit our reality. We limit what is possible because blinders on, it's only this logical way. What I've worked out with my pros and cons, all the people that are already in my space. Like I know where my next clients are. I use this example in the Let It Not Make Logical Sense, where a friend of mine who's a beautiful coach, she was like, Hilary, I feel really empowered because I know exactly where my next sales are coming from because it's these 5 people that have been hovering in my space. Oh. And I thought it was such a beautiful, it was beautiful that was feeling, we want to celebrate if that makes you feel empowered. But to me, that felt empowered in the 1% logical. Whereas there is probably millions of people that could come into your space and let it not make logical sense how they come in. Yeah. So I think of with anything in life, it's like we have to allow the things that are going to come in ways that we can't foresee. I have another friend that she just launched an offer, and right when she launched it, she also got a keynote speaking gig, a speaking event, and it was $5,000. And it was like she would never been able to plan that when she launched, her, like it was a lower ticket offer, that this then $5,000 deal came in straight away. And now they're more and more coming in the keynote speaking space rather than the offering she created. And it's like, okay, let it not make logical sense. You stepped forward, you started creating, you started, that was her first, business offering. And I was like, let it not make some logical sense how the money comes in, but it's coming in or people are coming in. And so when we can release the idea, and definitely listen to that podcast because it's been one of my most listened to as well, where you start to rewire what is possible for you. So you're not shutting down the things that you can't map out. Mm-hmm. As we said, like most of it's unknown and uncertain, and there's 99% of what is infinitely possible here that you can connect to. And it's all going to be around your identity work, your nervous system safety, your energetic coherence, all the things you're doing, which I'm actually creating a space for this now called The Expansion. It's coming out this weekend, where it's combining all of this, with human design, with your energy, your energetic coherence, with nervous system, and with your identity work, because then you align to things that don't make logical sense because you're shifting timelines.
Yes.
So this is going to be really important as we move into 2027, because this is what Ra Uru, who was the creator of human design, he spoke about how this was a shift in the paradigm and how we were going to be moving into this more, intuitive, energetic space. He spoke a lot about brave children, which there were more and more being born, which we see with the telepathy I'm struggling with my words today. Yeah. Telepathy tapes. Yes. And we're seeing with like a rise in autism, this is what he spoke about, like how there's going to be ways that we're communicating, connecting purely from energy, purely from, being able to connect without actually using words. So more and more intuitive gifts. He spoke about a lot more with the individualized, where we're really coming back. You see how we're moving more and more to this of like fulfillment is really important to people, being on purpose for yourself and being able to really connect with your soul's mission. Yeah. Now, I put a spin on this, like in doing that, you then support and you connect with the collective. You then are of highest contribution. All the ancient wisdoms, whether it's Buddhism, Vedic, and even just if you know in your own experience, it's like being of service is your true way to fulfillment and to true way to success and to happiness. So it's just it's another shift in energy. There's so much in it, but I just think the most important piece to it is like trusting your intuition. It's known as your strategy and authority in human design. So moving towards that and releasing the ways that you are not. And yeah, we'll see what happens. I'm not a big, I always just like love to ground the wisdom into like, what does this mean for me in a really practical way? And then we'll see what shifts and changes. Yeah.
I feel like this year and next year are huge years, I keep saying. And this is just because of the astrologers that I follow and what I read about that something between now and July 19th is coming. I don't really know what that means, but I think the more that we can focus on just having it be of the highest vibration and the most light to break down whatever the old systems are that we need to dissolve that are clearly being broken down all over the planet, but just focusing on the light and not getting caught in all of the fear and all of the chaos and all of the noise that exists, you know?
Absolutely. And body sovereignty. If something doesn't feel right in your body, like, because it's so interesting. I feel like sometimes I live in a little bit of, you know, where I don't put the news on all the time.
I don't at all.
Yeah. I am not like receiving all of the messaging that is out there. And I just think it's so important for people to really connect and trust with their body, because you will just be fed what is strategically fed to you to control and to make you feel fearful. And so as we're moving more and more forward, there's people that are moving more and more towards that body consciousness and like, how does this respond in my body? How does this feel? Because if you're disconnected from your body, your intuition, basically, the somatics, the response from your nervous system, from, your energy, you're going to be controlled. You're going to be swayed. There'll be another, there'll be more things that will happen. So really trusting your body, your senses, your instincts. And then the brave thing is to then operate from that place, to live from that place. So definitely the energy and the body sovereignty.
Well, and I'm so glad you brought that up, because one of the things I heard recently, which I had never thought about in the context of this huge astrological transit that happened. I mean, there are lots of them obviously going on this year, but because I believe it was the Neptune transit, because Neptune moved from Pisces into Aries. And this is at least, I think it's a 13 or 16, or it's a long transit in any event.
Cool.
And part of what they were saying it meant for when Neptune was in Pisces is, this is because Pisces is so mystical and spiritual and ethereal. There was more of this like escaping the body through all this plant medicine stuff that was happening. And not that that's good, bad, or otherwise. I've done plenty of it, but just that was so much the focus in the height of Pisces or Neptune in Pisces. And now Aries is so physically based and coming back to the body. And just like, that's why I love that you said, like, just this body awareness and trusting your body and your knowingness. If something feels, whether it's a gut feeling or uncomfortable or your heart races or your palms sweat, like any sort of signal that your body gives you is so important, especially in this Aries time now that Neptune is here.
Oh, love. It's just so beautiful. So above, so below. And like, exactly as you said, like, I think sometimes, the escaping and the numbing.
Yes.
You know, it's like, it's very like, okay, well, if I'm feeling all these things, that Pisces energy, then I just numb. And like the Aries is like, okay, what do we actually do about it? What are we actually moving forward? So I love that. That's very cool.
So I think the timing of all of it is divine. Okay. Just talk a little bit about this new launch that you have, because this podcast will come out relatively soon. It'll be next week, which will be fun.
Amazing.
And then, so I want to promote that for you. And then what other offerings that you have and how people can connect with you, of course.
Yeah, absolutely. So it's called The Expansion, and it's all to help business and entrepreneurs and help people that are growth minded and want to create a business or, you know, somehow success in the way that you're sharing and serving in the world. So what I started to see was that it's actually not about tactics, strategies, funnels, doing things right, blah, blah, blah. And what I was noticing was that people were getting so frustrated because they were doing the right things and it just wasn't working for them. And it's because I see that it's business and life is more like the success in that is more reflective of your spiritual work, your energetic coherence, your nervous system, all the things we've spoken about, who you are, your identity. And I looked back on all my lives and lives, yes. Multiple
that
lives.
too. It's true.
I did have a Vedic astrologer recently tell me that she's like, your big thing in your karmic journey here is your work of like, you got to a certain point in your last life, and this one you're like really wanting to go for it. So very interesting.
I totally believe that. That makes sense.
Yeah. It's like you kind of almost feel like you started a little bit early or something in your awareness. So Yeah, because I started to see the energetic component, the body component, because we need to feel that support, that total identifying with that universal life force energy, and being able to create from that authentic place, being able to create from that magnetic place, from that energetic coherence place. Yeah. So I'm really excited about it. And I'm just like, yeah, it's been a long time coming. It's been in its incubation birthing phase for a long time, and I'm just really excited. Yeah, so that's and then I have Thank you. Then I have the certification, which is to become certified in human design. So that's my other baby.
Yeah, that sounds like an amazing. Okay, so how long are both of those programs? Is the certification months in length, or?
It's 6 months, the certification. I feel like, honestly, anything shorter would be a disservice. When I see people doing shorter things, it's like, it's impossible to go actually deep into human design and to integrate it, to embody it, and to share it. So that's 6 months. And then you have options within the expansion. It's either going to be 4 months or 8 months that you could be inside there. Yeah. So
exciting. Very exciting.
Always.
Yeah. Go deep. That's incredible. And then you have your podcast, which is called Designed as You.
Yes.
Okay. Yes. And then website. Let me get website info. I just want to make sure. We'll obviously link all of this under the podcast as well.
Yeah. It's HillaryMcVeigh.com.
Awesome. Yes. And then is that your name, your handle on Instagram as well?
Yes, it is. Hillary McVeigh. I actually just changed it.
Oh, you did? What was it before? Was it Designed as You?
It was Designed as You. Yeah, I just changed it to Hillary McVeigh. Yeah.
I did that change about a year ago. I had like a different handle before, and it was it was like just an identity shift. It was fun.
Exactly. It's fun. I feel like, I can play this now.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. I love it. Well, I've so loved this conversation. I've so enjoyed talking with you. I'm really excited about your programs. As I told you when I reached out to you, what the certification has been sort of circling in my orbit for a while. So I know that is on my list, but this expansion one also has me very curious, especially as a 6-2 projector going into 2027, and how I have done so many of these, Hilary, like you mentioned, the funnel courses and do it this way and I'm watching this pattern even within myself. And I see this with a lot of entrepreneurs, like, if I just could figure out the secret to what she's doing or what she's doing or what she's doing, it's like, no, the secret is you, girl. The secret is you coming into you finding the practices and the rituals and the grounding and the way that you can truly channel your vessel. I think in my highest vibrational times in my business, it's when I'm deep in my meditation practice. It's when I'm allowing myself to be guided that way and not by the noise of what other people is telling me. So that's why this program you just mentioned really does call to me in that way.
Yeah, exactly. I was starting to notice it's like we don't think about like what the soul's evolutionary journey is behind it. So if you have something that you need to move through, so for example, let's just what we were saying before of like external validation. If there is something to be healed around that, it's not going to be good for you to show up every day and do all these strategies and do all of these things. It will actually be more negative to your business because of that energy it's coming from. And so it's like every single person is so unique of what is the actual soul evolution, soul reckoning that is happening in the background, because when you shift to that, then your business reflects that. It's like the business is just reflecting what's happening within you. So like more of this, like trying to find external tactics is just going to keep highlighting the same things. It's just wanting to shift within you. So it's so individualized. That's why I wanted to create this space.
It's such a good way to say it, because we come in with whatever our lineage, drama and trauma, our ancestry, our childhood stuff, the stuff from our own past lives. Like there's so many layers, and each of us has such an individual journey in the soul journey in this lifetime, which is so cool.
So cool. I love it. Yeah, thank you so much.
Oh, it was lovely meeting you. I just enjoyed this so much, and I'll reach out to you, of course, about all the links and everything so you can share everything. But thank you for being here. I really, really enjoyed this conversation. It's a pleasure.
Thank you so much. Thank you all for listening. Bye.
Bye. Have a beautiful day. Bye-bye.